I love this college football season because it's like we're going to have chaos. Teams are losing games, and that's okay. It's okay to lose once. It's actually okay to lose twice, but you're not out of it. And this week, or last week, I should say, Ole Miss beat Georgia. I didn't think Georgia was going to lose another game, but yet Georgia lost. Ole Miss won. It's just chaos. And that as we get closer to the end, we're going to see much more of this chaos of teams that we envision would be in losing 2 or 3 games. And how many teams will the SEC get into this 12-team expanded playoff?
Yeah, no, and I think that's going to be the interesting battle that we see, because in the first round of the college football playoff rankings that came out last week, you had, unsurprisingly, both of the major power conferences in the Big Ten and the SEC represented with 4 teams each. And with the Big Ten, it's a very top-heavy group. We know that those groups in Ohio State, in Oregon is a new member of the Big Ten, in Penn State, and now in Indiana, Kurt Cignetti's group in year one, you've seen them play largely easy schedules until they've got to play against each other. Ohio State took care of Penn State already, and now you've got Indiana and Ohio State facing off November 23rd. And so I think that group is secure for that reason. For the SEC, it's going to be really interesting, and I think a lot of it hinges on what happens this weekend with Tennessee and Georgia playing each other. Georgia coming off the loss to Ole Miss, where for the first time in most of our lifetimes in recent memory, in the Kirby Smart era of Georgia football, they got out physical. And to get out physical by Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss squad is not something that I think a lot of people had on their bingo cards, but that portal defense really showed up. And so now Tennessee and Georgia, I think similar football teams, both led by their defense, and both have had flawed performances from talented quarterbacks. Nico Iamaleava is now nursing an injury coming off this last game and going into this, but has looked a little bit more like the Joe Milton version of the Tennessee offense than maybe the Hendon Hooker version that lit it up for Josh Heupel years ago. And Carson Beck in Georgia can't protect the quarterback, and the quarterback's having trouble with turnovers. So I think coming off that game, it's going to sort out just how many teams, whether it's, 2 or 3 up the top, or if they're able to sneak a 4th in because a team like Ole Miss now all of a sudden puts it together down the home stretch.
But there's a team that you just mentioned, Indiana, Mike, and I would say this. We needed Indiana. I didn't know how much we needed Indiana, but we needed Indiana football to be good. Not because it's a traditional power, because we needed Kurt Cignetti. And for people who didn't know him before, you know him now. The dude is who he is. He's been like that since he's been a coach, whether it was at James Madison, even before that, and then coming in, gets the Indiana job, and it's like, look, we're going to be good. I'm telling you, we're going to beat Ohio State. You mentioned November 23rd. I've almost said that November 23rd is actually part 1 of the Big Ten Conference Championship. How cool has Kirk Cignetti been for college football this season?
It's been great, and everything you mentioned about Kurt Cignetti is also going to be great for his bank account coming off this season, because I'm sure, I don't know if he's a Sexton guy or not. I assume it pretty much everyone of value in college football is, but man, they're going to be able to kick their feet up Ben Affleck style from Good Will Hunting and just shout retainer at the Indiana brass, because this is going to be the guy everyone's coming after, because to be able to microwave success at a place, like you said, that's not a traditional power football conference, power in Indiana, 10 wins for the first time in program history, in a day and age where the portal has made immediate results from roster construction a little bit more difficult than maybe people anticipated. It's been nothing short of remarkable what him, Curtis Rourke, and that offense have done defensively. A lot of those guys that came with Kurt Cignetti from James Madison making an immediate impact in this conference. And the game against Michigan this last weekend, listen, it wasn't pretty, and for a team that's been used to 30-plus point margins of victories inside the Big Ten, it was a good reminder, hey, you're getting ready to take a step up in weight class when it comes to the physicality along the lines of scrimmage when you face Ohio State, who's going to have plenty more to offer you offensively than we know this year's Michigan squad does. But I think watching the way that they came out jacked up, ready to try and set a physical tone against that team is just a reminder of how much buy-in and confidence he's been able to instill in them early on.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.